This is Karia again, and I have another video for you today. Today I will be doing a review of this book. It's actually not a book, it's a postcard book, but I have been really interested in these books. These are by Pepin Press. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. And so I'm going to talk about the Pepin Press and talk about this postcard book and my experience doing watercolor with this, as well as watercolor pencil. I'm also going to talk about this book right here, which my wife got for her classroom, and then I stole from her classroom, and I'm really enjoying just like looking through and looking at the art. And I think that this is really, I like this book a lot. If you're struggling with how to do African-American skin tones, this might be a great book to have, just to see how one particular artist did that. All right, so before we get to all that, I do want to talk about my last video, which was about my fundraiser that I put up at basically at you guys' request, because I have been having a lot of back problems and back pain lately, because as you can see from the bamboo slots here that I am still filming on my floor, which is how I started doing my very first video. I want to talk a little bit about that because I got some extremely negative reaction and I got some extremely negative comments from that video, even though it's only like 2 minutes long, to the point where I basically like cut off comments. Like, comments need to be approved because I got so much like negativity from that little short video. This was originally intended to only be a short-term project. When I first started this, I was just trying to answer a few questions that I found on Facebook. As I've talked about to you guys many times, I was 34 and in much better health, and I started filming it the same way that I do this one. I did it on my floor just like this, and that's just how I started, and it just grew and grew and grew, and now we have over 10,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But in that time, I've really struggled with this setup because I don't necessarily feel that this is a healthy long-term setup. It's not healthy for my back. It's not healthy for my morale. So I really struggled with that. I looked at pretty much every kind of table that's on the market, everything from oversized TV trays to everything else. And as I talked about in that video, I have very limited restrictions on space. It has to fold. It has to be big enough and big enough to do what I need it to do, because as you can see, I do a lot of moving stuff to the side. I do a lot of moving stuff out of the way to sort of rearrange things. So it has to be big enough to do all that, but it still has to be small enough to fit within this relatively small space that I have in my small New York City apartment. So so I have looked at, setting up a smaller table and getting a tripod and some sort of extender, but for various reasons that's not really going to work as a long-term solution. I do already have the $15 TV trays that somebody recommended, as if I've never thought about that. I do already have those, and that's what I've been using for my Patreon live streams. But again, those really won't work for this. They're just not big enough. Anyway, so I talked all about all of that in that video. Somebody else suggested selling art supplies, which is what I do. So if I sold the art supplies, I wouldn't be able to do the whatever. And the last thing that was suggested, and I think that this would have been a good option, except for the fact that I still have day-to-day expenses of using Patreon, Amazon, Google, is they all collectively don't really pay that much per month. And so right now, the level that I'm at right now, it's gotten to the point where I'm finally not putting as much money into it as I once was, so that it is almost self-funding. Which is amazing, and that's thanks to you guys using the Amazon link, using the Google link, using all those links. So so for that reason, I decided to set up to ask you guys first how you guys felt about me setting up the fundraiser, and you guys were all gung-ho, so I set up the fundraiser, and then I got a lot of negative backlash. So I'm not really sure, what to do at this point. So if you guys, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But I just put that out there as like what's going on. All right. Anyway, so so there's that. So I've said what I had to say about that. it is what it is. That's the situation that I'm in. You know, there's not really much that anybody can do about it. All right. So, other than, you know, making fewer videos or making no videos at all, which is not where I want to go. All right. So I like this book for a lot of reasons. One, it's super adorable. I stole it from like I said, I stole it from my wife, who now has to get another copy. And I love first of all, I love the description. I love the very cute artistic style. I love the skin tones. I absolutely love the way this person did the skin tones. There's not really that much shading here, but there's a lot of, you know, blushes on different kinds of skin tones, and what they would look like. So if you're struggling to do African-American skin tones, this is just a great starter. And there are other books, you know, like this, usually for children that have these, you know, vivid sort of artistic inspirations and artistic sort of styling. But this just shows you like some of the options, especially if you use markers. This probably would be most effective, but even if you use colored pencils, I've mainly been doing like my own skin tone, and I wanted to sort of do slightly lighter skin tones, as well as slightly darker ones. So, so this is going to be a great reference for me. Let me show you, I believe it's, hold on, here we go. This is Katherine Johnson. You guys, if you guys have seen Hidden Figures, if you haven't, you should. If you haven't read the book, you should also read the book, because the book is really good and really well sourced. But I love this skin tone, and I love the way that it's done here. You can see a little bit of the shadows here, and you know, the choices that they made. So this is really good, especially if you use markers. To me, it looks like she's wearing like some light stockings, but she might not be. But anyway, this is a really nice one. And of course, there's the information on the side. You know, I'm a Black lesbian, and I studied history in college and grad school, so most of these names were familiar to me. But if that's not a subject that you studied, you know, this is a great book to have just for information purposes. There were definitely a few new names for me. Mary Bowser was a new name for me. But for the most part, most of these names were very familiar to me. This one was also a new name for me. But overall, this is a really good book in terms of like learning to do skin tones for your art. My wife was super excited to see Althea Gibson. I was super excited to see Mae Jemison. Hold on, let me show you. I still have never seen Daughters of the Dust. But I will take a look at it. I cried. I literally almost burst into tears with Ruby Bridges. It's so cute. It's so adorable. She's just been a phenomenal person all her life. Here it is. Dr. Mae Jemison. I was so happy to see this. And of course, I was this is Oprah. My wife is a big fan of Oprah. This is Gwen Ifill. I was really, really sad when Gwen Ifill died in 2016. I loved her reporting and just her style. So anyway, so there's that. But anyway, there's so many different names. My wife is really big into tennis, so she was really excited to see Venus and Serena featured here. Misty Copeland is too adorable for words. So there's all sorts of different names here. Madam C.J. Walker, which I was surprised didn't make the main book, but I kind of see her point of not putting it in the main book. But Alice Walker. So I hope that they do more in this series, and that's it. So I really hope that they do more in this series, because the style is just too adorable for words. So anyway, so this is a book. Definitely recommend this if you have kids, you know, whatever, especially if you are struggling with African American skin tones and you don't know sort of where to look at. This is a really good sort of basic easy primer, because it's so stylized that it's much easier to get at than, you know, like a realistic portraits, because it's so stylized. Anyway, so I wanted to show you that. Isn't this adorable? So cute. Okay, all right, so there's that. So I definitely recommend this book. There'll be a link to it from Amazon, and yes, it is an affiliate link. Okay, so this is what we came here for today. We came here for these books by Pepin Press. I can't believe it's 10 minutes and I'm just now getting to the point of this video. Anyway, we came here for, it's Pepin Press, and what I like about these books is I have gotten other books that were sort of said to be watercolor books. I got one book that, you know, people got mad at me because, you know, in the back, in the description of what it is, it said that it was, you know, luxury watercolor paper. And okay, if you tell me your luxury watercolor paper, I'm expecting, you know, 300-pound arches, and it's just like regular multimedia paper. So, so what I like about this is that it is 300 GSM acid-free paper. It doesn't really say that it's watercolor paper. I believe, to me, this feels like a multimedia paper, like a cold pressed multimedia paper. It's a very high quality cold pressed paper. Let me show you what I did. The paper itself is really stunning. My work is less so. I did this sort of not necessarily in a rush, but this wasn't really my best work. I started sort of putting in the colors before I realized what kind of a bird it was. So it's not really my best work. It's more of a test and a proof of a concept. So take this one with a grain of salt. But this was done with, I believe this is M-Gram watercolor paints, because I took my M-Gram paints out yesterday and I did some painting. So I did this, and it literally took like, I don't know, like an hour, 2 hours to do this. Not 2 hours. It literally took like an hour to do this, and it did a really good job of, you know, representing the color. There wasn't that much drying shift from wet to dry. So there's that. Now, one thing that I did have a problem with this book, and these books come in a variety of sizes and prices. I believe this one was $10. It was a while ago that I bought it, but I believe that it's $10, and it goes up from there. It comes in this postcard size. It comes in a regular book size, which is which I believe is about this size, which is a regular book size. This is a future video that's coming up. This is from the Crayola review that I've been kind of not having been done yet. But this is I believe this is around about the regular size, which is like 8 by 10-ish. And then it comes in a jumbo size, and I really, really, really want to see the jumbo size, and I really, really want to order the jumbo size. Because I'm super curious, because the problem that I had here, and you see it more so with this, is that once you do dark colors, even if they're not that dark, this is sort of a medium brown that I use for the branches, you sort of lose a lot of the detail that they went through all that trouble to put in. The leaf sort of loses a bunch of its detail. And they went through a lot of trouble to put this in. Now, it is really light, so theoretically you're supposed to lose some of it, but I found that I lost too much detail in that. And I wonder if, you know, and I couldn't really fill it in, you know, drop by drop, or, you know, small sections. I sort of ended up having to do large sections because this is already a small piece. So I wonder if, and you see it here too, you see this tiny detail. I wonder if it will be easier with the larger books. So at some point I will order one of the larger books. And by the way, they come in so many different subjects. There was one that was like Japanese art. There was one that was like traditional Arabic mosaics. I think it was called Islamic mosaic, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but they come in all sorts of different styles and subject matters. I believe that most of it is going to be sort of, you know, like open, copyright free, public domain stuff. And this is from Audubon's Birds of America, and this might be copyrighted for all I know. And this is since these are postcards, let me show you the back of the postcards. They all have the same thing. They have information on the bird, which I didn't see until after I had already started mine, because mine is actually a passenger. I knew mine was a pigeon, but I was looking at the wrong kind of pigeon. This is a passenger pigeon, and I wonder if these are all extinct. I hope not. But anyway, it tells you what the bird species is on the back, and you can see this very fine detail, which I think would probably be more effective in the larger sizes. I don't know if I would recommend this really truly small size, because I think that all the subject ones that I saw were like this for the small size, but I love the paper quality in this, and I definitely want to try to get maybe a jumbo book and see how the jumbo book works. Because look at this. I don't even know if I don't even know if it'll, sorry for the state of my nails, but I don't really know if it will even focus on how fine that is. If you're watching this at 144p, you might not even be able to see it. So there's that. But I still love, look how small that is. Let's see if that will focus. Oh, there it is. You see how fine that is. And so this one looks like it might have been made to be a larger size and then shrunk down, which is probably why the detail is so minute like this. So so that's something to keep in mind. But I love the style. See, look, I was hoping it would be more like this, where there's larger open spaces, as opposed to a lot of smaller spaces. But that's sort of how I like to think of, you know, watercolor. And the same thing with if you see my reviews, I like to put in my own like shading and layering. But this would be really nice for, you know, it depends on your style, but I really feel like this would be much better in a larger format. I like the idea of a postcard, especially for some people who, I know there are people out there who dislike the idea of, you know, finishing a coloring page and then what do you do with it? With something like this, you can have it as a postcard that you send out to people. Or that you send to yourself. I mean, there's a lot of people that do that too. You know, you can travel the world and mail it to yourself from wherever you are. We did that when we went to London. We mailed postcards to ourselves. Like, I wrote my wife a note. She wrote me a note. My note was better than her note. I'm just saying. Just like, it's not really relevant to anything. It's just like my note was better than the note that she wrote me. And this has 20 different postcards. Oh, this is definitely some kind of eagle. Well, I think some kind of raptor. Let's see what it says. Bird of Washington. I never heard of that, so that might actually be extinct also. So these might be extinct. It doesn't say. That's the other thing about these, is that, you know, aside from what you get on the cover, there's not really any information here on the info other than the name of the bird in the back, which then tells me, I definitely don't think the American crow is extinct. It might be, but I don't think so. Which tells me that maybe for the other ones, it's the same. For the other ones, it's the same thing where you just get some information on the back about what it is, about what the specific animal is. And I had no problems lifting out the top here. You can see there's a little bit of breakage, but I had no problems lifting out the pages. As for watercolor pencil, this did a really good job of taking on the pigment and getting it dissolved and doing it. So I found no problems doing this with watercolor pencil. If you want to use watercolor pencil or Inktense instead of there'll be a link to my Inktense review talking about videos that cause drama. Goodness gracious. If you want to use like Inktense or, you know, some kind of water soluble pencil, it's totally doable on here. If you want to use dry media, it should work just as well. There's definitely a lot of artists, both casual and professional, that used watercolor paper for dry media. For a variety of reasons. So if you want to use dry media, there's definitely enough tooth in here. It's not super smooth, so you can use markers, but I'm not sure that it's going to give you the kind of marker blending thing that you can get from some of the specialized marker papers. So there's that. But I think that's it. So thank you guys for staying, and thank you guys for staying 10 minutes in before we actually get to the actual video of this book that I was reviewing. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. As always, stay tuned for the video of one of the cats doing something, which I will probably look in the archives for the video for today, since they've eaten, so they're out of there, you know, whatever. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. There will be a link down below to my Patreon page, Amazon link, all that other stuff, as well as the fundraiser link will be up there. You click on that eye and then a list of links will show up and it'll be over there. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Bella is just getting in there and is just cleaning all the privates. Look at her. Oh, that's just is not. Ooh, look. Ooh, she's just getting in there.